Alright, we are back. Half an hour later than usual because of a doctor's appointment, but we are here. We're ready to log in and get on with building Wonop. And we have a whole bunch of things we want to cover today. So we want to pick up on our system prompt engineering from yesterday. We also are going to look at giving the agent peripherals, so mouse and keyboard access, such that it can actually start interacting with the system. So right now, my laptop is working on that, and hopefully we'll be able to demo that during this stream. What we will also be doing is start thinking about the memory that we are implementing. So we already have... Oh, hello. Adios. How are you today? What we will hopefully also do today is start looking at the memory. So we already have some experience with building up LLM Wiki for the fast codes. That's the approach we used here. And we need to figure out how to get a common memory in that can be used across all the agents. So that's pretty much the plan for today. We'll see how far we get, but let's get going. Okay, give me a second here to just bring up the right screens, because I have lost track of where I have what. All right, let's bring up our terminal from yesterday and let's just check out where we actually landed. So I think we still have a few things we need to do. The number one thing is reviewing just the UI UX of the system prompt. Once we have that kind of in place, hopefully, well, actually I can see the agent is finished over here now, so let me just have a look at what's going on my laptop and we can get that merged in and hopefully also try out in the stream. So cool. So I just instructed the agent over here to create a MR for the work we've done on peripherals overnight. And hopefully we'll be able to test this out, start improving that. But for now, let's get Wonop up and try to look at our system prompt editor. And then we're also going to look at bringing in the icon. So somebody on the chat yesterday suggested that we should use Font Awesome. I think we're going to purchase that today and get that in. Cool. So here's our editor, and there are a few things we want to improve. So for instance, right now, if you've turned off the sidebars, it actually doesn't expand exactly the way it should. So you see, it still have a relatively low height. The icons here are looking kind of rubbish. Like, we shouldn't have a question mark when we hover it. And preview could certainly also look better. I think that the headlines are kind of difficult to see. But we can turn off sections, and so that bit, I think there is still a bug. We've turned off all the sections, but there's still a whole ton of stuff in here. So we need to fix that. Let's get back to Claude here. so the first thing was the editor doesn't take up the full height. In particular, if you close the sidebars, the editor is quite small in full screen. 2. What was the next thing we had? So the next thing we had here was that the icons for the sidebars are actually rubbish. Cool, what else did we have? Then turning on and off sections actually doesn't work as you expect it to. So when we've turned everything off, we would expect that everything is disappearing. And let's start with just fixing these ones and then do small incremental improvements from here. But I think that's pretty much going to be it. So let's get those ones over first. And we do have some other things where it has added a whole bunch of tooltips when you're hovering, and that makes some of the UI look a bit funky with these dashed lines under it. Also, the toggle seems suboptimal, so that needs to be fixed as well. And then I don't know why we have this. Again, another thing we'll be addressing. All right. Then somebody has brought to my attention a memory module that I think is worth looking at. So initially I was planning on just using LLM Wiki. I think that works out pretty well. But let me just find where's my browser at. So somebody brought this to my attention, and I think it's a interesting database. Well, agent memory, whatever you want to call it. And the question is whether we should replicate something like this inside of Wonop. It may be a great way to get everything organized. And I think the nice thing is if we can get this, if we could replicate this and get it to work really nicely, we could basically update fast codes to use that approach. So why not? Why wouldn't we use this? I think we will use this. So probably the first thing I would do, oh, I love this. So it has also some nice representation of where things are. And I really think we need something like this. The question is, should we write this Rust native and replicate what they've done here? Since I can't really get Python into the mix here. Or should we run this as a separate site? We could run this as a sidecar. That would be a possibility. So we already do the wiki stuff inside of fastcode, so that's a solved thing for us. Previous agent task into skills. I think this is a really useful thing to have. And there is a related thing we actually want there as well. That's the ability to turn books into skills. So I bookmarked this somewhere on GitHub, but somebody made a really nice repo that will take a book and turn it into an agent skill. So that might be something we want to do. Give me a second here. I need to just get this one thing out. Cool. Okay. So code graph is nice. Definitely. And history, chat history would be a really nice thing to get in as well. So basically, we only ever have one chat for the system agent, which means that as such, so the original thought was to use observational memory, right? So if we go over here, this is the system chat that governs everything we're doing. But it may be that we actually want to do something similar to a chat history and then offload that into a memory so we can group that into chunks of data that we want. So initially what was the plan was we have this inspector over here with events that has happened in the system. And so basically we wanted to make a observational level memory where we start out by doing a event by event classification of what's happening and then grouping that into specific topics. And I think that's pretty much observational memory in a nutshell. Now, for the system we have up here, since we only have a single chat, that would work out quite nicely. But maybe it would be nice that when you clear chat, so you just press here and that the chat is still preserved and you can start a new topic being sure that your stuff is not gone. At least that makes some sense to me. I'm in love with the cocoa. I have no idea what the cocoa is. Explain yourself, FSD driver. All right, let's get back here and have a look at. So I think this is all in all pretty obvious. Tiny but serious ink. Use scout builder. One playstyle. Build a growing agent team for a one-person company. Cross-session user understanding. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of things. Another possibility would be that we simply just say we don't own memory at all and outsource that to some of the services out there. I feel like this is such an integral part though that we should do that. So why don't we start out by getting Claude to analyze this. Let's do it in the context of our repository. So we're jumping over here and just full screen this one, so we better start a new context here. Local, we want to do yeah, it's local. We want to do a work tree out of develop, so that's fine. See what else. So we want to know what would be great to adopt. I think in principle all of it would be great to adopt from what I can see. So but what we do need to know is research if there is any Rust equivalent of this library, because that's going to be the barrier here. We are writing things in Rust and this is a Python library, but the good thing is that my experience with rewriting libraries in Rust actually is fairly painless. So let's see if we can get that going. So maybe we're lucky that somebody already ported this to Rust. Don't write any code. Oh, you fucked up again. Oh, sorry to hear that. That seems like a suboptimal thing to do. So I think this memory thing, at least from my perspective, the most important part of it is the LLM wiki. So that works really well. And if you recall, we have already used the LLM wiki. So if you go to trolls.ai, this is actually based all off a LLM wiki. So the Kapathy wiki system, which it works really well, and I'm pretty pleased with how it worked. Well, I guess you'll have to earn some more money then. What's your plan? Okay, let's see. Yeah, and so it's nicely adhering to our playbooks inside of the repository. That's pretty nice. Already has memory. That's probably true. I've implemented a whole bunch of different memories in the past, and I don't remember what they actually do. I know that we have the LLM wiki, and that one is pretty mature. It works really well. But whether it has all the other bits and pieces that we need, I am not sure. Wait, what? Why did it get 404 on this? Shouldn't get 404. Did I post the wrong link? No, this is the right link. Let me just check. What was it actually? Yeah, okay, so it was trying to fetch something. And that gave it 4-4. Okay. Alright, it's written in TypeScript, not Python. Let's see. Well, I guess you'll just have to go with hope then. I think a bit of discipline goes a long way, though. All right, yeah. So license is great on this one. We are free to do whatever we want, which is our favorite kind of license. And this is finished now. Let's see if it fixed the issues that we had. So I'm just going to quit this one again. And start it up again. Oh wait, where did my terminal go? Here. See. So our system prompt. Okay, so it's fixed the icons. They look nicer now. If we make this full screen, it grows to full screen. It stays full screen even when we have this. So we have a nice place to edit the system prompt of the whole system. We have preview. Let's see if the turn on and off works. Okay. So that's the next piece of information that we need to provide it. The toggles looks poorly. All white. When on and the turning on and off of sections, turning on and off the sections doesn't quite work. If you turn everything off, there is still plenty of prompt left. Well, it's never too late to learn discipline, and now is as good a time as ever. So I would strongly suggest that you start doing that. All right, let's see. It's done with the research now. So let's see, what do we have? The layered memory architecture is the transferable assets, and it's, oh, that's really great news. So this is only 1,500 lines of code. We can do that in probably a single shot. M0 sep and letter all Python. Wait, I'm so confused now. Is this Python or is it Rust? No, sorry, I'm not for looking for any apps to buy at this point. Let's see. Lexical. Okay, let's just, first of all, let's resolve one question at a time here. What is this? Okay, it's 91% TypeScript and 3.5% Python, which explains why I thought it was having at least some Python in it. Okay, so what the Rust does have is every building block. You already have 2 of them. Nice. So we are already on our way to have this. So fast embed, that we haven't done. The natural Rust shape is SQLite FTS5. What is FTS5? Just describe that here. Used by Wonop memory and looper bundle compiles FT. Man. Write less text and give me more information. This is... Let's see. No, I don't need to see your Stripe. I believe you that you have a great app, but why don't you go to Trust MRR and sell it there? That's probably the best place to sell stuff. Or acquire.com. Okay, so 3 recommendations. Adapter of fish offload contract summary push result replacement score cascade into the workbench agent loop. Biggest token win, most original idea in the repo, and nothing in Wonop currently does it at a tool result layer. Okay, so my first question here: how is this going to work? We don't have tools in the traditional sense. So the way that Wonop is working, it's actually producing XML blocks with the TypeScript in that's being executed instead of doing tool calls. And so the key idea is to basically create something that's more lightweight than the tools that we are normally using. Replace the substring scan in Wonop sessions. I don't think we even use Wonop sessions. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But this is a super old package back from when I wrote Wonop code back in December. So... okay, that might be fine. We probably are using the sessions. I mean, that would make sense that we would have reused that. Okay, no questions. Before either decide whether the workbench should reuse Wonop code observational memory rather than grow a parallel mechanism. Okay, I think we need to discuss this. So observational memory was originally on our roadmap. It seems like we could have something like that. But it also seems that the concept would need to evolve. Okay, so let's have a discussion about this. Okay, and then also, so I had another question which I now forgot. The thing is, yes, how do apps, well, let's do can / how do apps integrate. How would apps integrate with this memory piece. In an ideal world, oh fucking hell, this takes too long. Let's do this. In an ideal world, we would have it such that Claude and Codex would be able to integrate with the memory and use it as a shared memory bank. So for instance, when we're doing code memory, we want to have it such that they have access to this memory. Same for previous conversations, decisions, and so on. Likewise for the LLM wiki. What do you think? Okay, how do I stop this again? So I think this is one of the things we really want to get working, because besides being able to communicate amongst each other, we do want it such that we have a very clear and concise way of making sure that the agents have the information available. All right, let's check where we are at with, this is still working. So let's leave that for a second. And all right, let's check this out. See what it's writing here. If it has. So good pushback offload idea I described assumes a discrete tool called loop, and your isolate model isn't that. Let me get an actual turn shape right before discussing. This reframe things, 5 ups only, and the workbench sees Claude code as pixels. Does it now? I mean, it can see it as pixels, but so the MCP should only expose a couple of tools, and one is execute JavaScript or TypeScript, and the other one should be getting documentation for how to execute TypeScript. All right, while it's busy at this, let's just reply a few people on X. All right, let's see where we're at with the actual. So this one is finished now, so we can try to restart and see if our system prompt editor is better now. Let me also check my laptop. That one is finished now as well, so we should be able to merge the latest develop and have a great time with Peripherals. See, I got a window open here. I said, no, that's not the one. Ah, it's over here. Too many screens. Okay, let's check this out. See if we got the details better. Still quite a lot of text left. Okay, let's try to render it and see what it actually looks like. Okay, so now it's empty in the render, and so it's just the editor. The editor shows everything every time, or at least most of the time, or not. Let's see, does this get longer when I enable these? Oh my goodness, those tooltips are driving. You can't see that. So it has introduced some tooltips here, and when you go down and you want to click on the next one, you end up clicking on the tooltip, and what happens is you're swapping the one above. This is super annoying. We need to get rid of that. Otherwise, you need to move the mouse out every time and then... Okay, but it seems that this is just a core system prompt. Nothing changes in the editor, which is great. But when we do the preview, we can now put in the preamble and then just enable the sections as we need them. So this is super nice. We have a place where we can manage our system prompt and add things such as rules and all of this later on. So this is going to be super useful. And we can also do the same with the raw. That should... Yeah, and that also removes everything. So that's fixed. But the tooltips are driving me nuts. Let's get rid of them. Other than that, I think this is this is pretty good as far as a system prompts editor is going. Right, it's pretty comprehensive. It allows us to tweak everything and really move things out. And so one of the things we're going to do in one of the upcoming videos is adding cache into the system. So we need to sort out the things that are truly dynamic from the ones that are static. And I think that's going to be a major thing to get in. Because that will allow us to do caching and basically make sure that we don't blow our budget on everything. So I think that's going to be super cool once we have that. Okay. Wait, let me just turn everything back on since we need it for now. Okay, we're closing that one. Getting back to our research page. Where did that one go? Let's see what it figured out. Okay. Oh my goodness, it writes so much text here. I am looking forward for the day where LLMs are just like, these are the decisions you need to make, and here's the architecture diagram. We don't have tools the run is a better offload unit than a tool. Okay, so according to Claude, we're doing better, so I'll just have to take Claude's word for that. I couldn't be bothered to figure out if already legible, no LLM needed. Scroll back for the run ID, already addressable. Run ID, okay, so this is super cool. We actually have a lot of the stuff we need for implementing all of this. The only genuine work. Wait, so what is the summary? Is that the summary of the turn? That's right, let's ask. Oh wait, now I'm actually giving away what I want to do. What is summary? The score? Is this a summary of the turn? If so, is this not just an XML block before stop? Let's see what else. That's the interesting part. Your action language delegates about half of their L1 pipeline. They spent an LLM call summarizing what was the tool call, because a tool call plus a JSON blob, blah, blah, blah. You only need to summarize and score the output. Okay, so I need to do that on the output. I see. Okay, so this works on the input at least. For the output, we might want to have a background process. Actually, screw that. Let's read what it's saying before we start asking a lot of questions, because things are getting clearer to me now. Which is a good chunk of what the LNTS is doing. I dropped the mermaid layer entirely for Wonop. It's compensating for the apps. So, wait, what? And run is better unit than a tool call for second reason. A loop that screenshots 40 windows is one run, so it offloads as one record. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Which is a good chunk of work. And what? Okay. So it seems that it's building up a graph about how tool calls were used using Mermaid, if I understand correctly what's going on here. So it seems that this library is simply taking the tool calls that has been happening and then building up a graph on how these fit together. If anybody in the stream knows this library and knows whether I'm right or wrong about what I'm saying, feel free to tell me the ways in which I'm wrong. The integration seems to already exist, and it's the good one. Tauri MCP core. Yes, so we have all of this. The tool runs inside the own. Yes. yes, and yes. Memory recall, memory remember. Oh, we already have that. I didn't think we had memory yet. Interesting. The friction out flag. App command tools ship input schema type object with names only in the description and text. Fine for recall query, weak for structured write where you want more reliable. Okay, yeah, okay, taken. That's granted. Let's see. LM. That one place. Regenerated cost is something. Okay, cool. So capture is asymmetric between Claude and Codex, and it's verified. What does this mean? Claude code gives you a real L0. The stub hook, payloads carry, transcript path, JSON-L, all of that. I see. And already reads the last assistant entry out of it. Passed via settings. So the person's own config is untouched. Pixels, not events. Is true for live observations at the turn boundaries. That's precisely the hook tdays L1 extractor wants. Codex doesn't. In the TUI, your table records, session start, fire, stop, user prompt submit, don't all three arrive under Codex exec. Command handles only, hence the relay. Okay. But that seems solvable. One caution, because your own design raises it. Skip the L0 for the workbench. It's yeah, so we already have this. I knew that. Is the weakest asset as code. A separate node service with Drizzle, Progress, OpenAPI, and the strongest concept as a concept for you. Because this repository is already an LLM wiki, the index, hierarchy, agents, .md, progressive loading rule, last used, last updated. Oh, I think it's confusing things here. Because this repository is already an LLM wiki. Okay, so you didn't adopt because you converged on it. Question isn't whether to build a wiki, it's whether the agent's memory should the same. I'm so confused here. I do not understand what Claude actually means here. I think it should. Okay, I need to sit down for this. It seems that... Okay, let's just record this because it's going faster. It seems to me that you're confusing two things. So one thing is what we do inside of the repository to keep track of the agent memory and so on. The other is what the capability is of Wonop. So the LLM wiki that we are talking about is about how this is integrated into Wonop, not about what the current repository is doing or not doing. I do believe that we have code inside of the repository for building LLM wikis. Let's press that one again and then just fix this. Am I missing something here? All right, we also have a code graph. The hard problem isn't storage, it's free writers. This is where it pushes back on the framing shared memory bank. Storage is the easy half. The real problem is Claude Codex and the assistant will contradict each other, and one agent is wrong. Agent's wrong conclusion silently becomes another's premise. Yes, that's completely true. Right, so if we have one agent that starts creating memory pollution or context pollution, then this is going to spread like a bad disease in the worst case. We do need to think about how we're going to address that. And yes, I like the idea of attributed append only. I like the idea of attributed append only. This seems to align well with the observational memory concept. The question here is, so what is it they call that? So you have the observational memory itself, but then you also have the process whereby you condense observations. How do we do the grouping of observations? Also, could we record user confirmed observations, memories, keeping in mind that the user might also be wrong at times. Another thing I think we need to think about is memory validity. Right, so I think we need to bring that in as well. We need to think about is memory validity. Some items are short-term memory stuff, while others are long-term. For instance, the user's name and what is present in the context. What is present in the context depends on a few variables. Depends on a few things, including how the memory was classified. So for instance, the username. For instance, the user's name is persistent and should always be there. Persistent and should always be there. This is with an E. Yeah. Do we have an example of something that's non-persistent? I think we might have some other things. Yep. What projects the user has built in the past? Is very much context related, context and workspace related. Workspace dependent. The reuse constraint, which I think is real here. Agents.md, so forget about agents.md. We are never guaranteed that we are working inside a repository. The question becomes, what memory should our sub-agents have access to? So obviously, if we have a code graph, they should have access to that. No doubt about it. But what about more general memory that might lead them astray? Okay, cool. Let's try to go back here. While it's chewing on that, we now have the tooltip's gone. Let's run this and just check out where we are at. Oh wait, damn. Yes, so the tooltips are gone here. We now have complete control over the system prompt. Can preview it. This is good enough for now. We don't need anything more. The last thing I would like to do is just test this out. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. So let me just check something out. If I remove that, the VM API is still there. The preamble is just gone. This. Let's try to save this and see what happens now if we call. Hey there, what's your name?
My name is Jane.
Are you sure about that?
Good catch. No, my name here is Jenny.
Nice. So our system prompt is working and we can definitely see that it's working as it should. Let's just try again and say, what do you think your name is now?
My name is Jenny.
What do you base that on?
I base that on the system instructions for this session, which explicitly say your name is Jenny, so that should override my earlier mistaken answer.
Okay, could you carefully just go through the system instructions and tell me what sections are in the system instructions?
The system instructions I'm operating under are roughly organized into these sections. 1. Identity and environment. I'm Jenny, running inside a Mac OS workbench. 2. Output protocol. I must communicate only with say, run, and stop. I should always say something before acting, and I must not report results until after a tool call returns. 3. Tool. Use rules. TypeScript against the WM API is the only way I can inspect or change the workbench. 4. Looking at things. I can't see the screen by default. I need to capture a window and attach the image before describing it. 5. Safety and accuracy rules. Don't guess about what's on screen. Don't claim something happened unless the tool result confirms it, and explain failures honestly. 6. Call mode behavior. Keep spoken responses short, avoid silence, handle interruptions, and wait only when the user's sentence is clearly incomplete. 7. Workspace and task context. The active workspace is the authoritative working area, and long-running work should be delegated to background tasks when appropriate. 8. Agent and inbox rules. Agents can be messaged. Inbox events should be claimed before handling and marked done afterward. 9. The WM API reference. The full list of available workbench commands for Windows browser apps, agents, inbox, FILESYSTEM, voice workspaces, and so on. 10. Looper task instructions. Additional task management rules about plans TODO.
Okay, that's more than enough. Thank you. So we did find one issue here, right? So we turned off all of the sections, and even so, the system saw all of the sections. So when we press these ones off, we want it such that they are gone when in the rendered result. Let's see. Oh, I have another one open here. Let's just kill that one. Let's get back to Claude and tell it what we have found. That's the wrong Claude. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, while it's doing that, let's get back to the other Claude. Ask it exactly, or figuring out exactly what it thinks. I looked at the repo conventions last turn and answered a question you didn't ask. Let me redo the product question.
You're welcome.
Wait, do we still have an instance of Wonop running? It seems like. Interesting. The downside to having a lot of monitors is that there's a lot of places where things can get lost. And right now, I have no clue where this instance of Wonop is. Yeah, killed it. All right. Let's get back here. Yes, reflector, that's what it's called. So one question I would have is, should we make the reflector work via embeddings rather than trying to group things? I feel like that would be a great way to go around it. Let's see. And the core subject is grouping key. So two systems collapse into one. A wiki page is a subject grouped observations with distilled locking. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Not TTL, okay. I'd resist short versus long term as a primary framing because it collapses two independent things. Scope and what does the claim depend on? Depend on nothing. Okay, that's actually an interesting thing. Which projects I've built is identity scope, but large. Okay, let's see. I think this is a good point. It would expire the name eventually, and then what's in the context follows scope and size. Always resident, small, stable, scope free naming. Okay. Scope activated. No repository. Scope on workspaces not yet. Yes, please do this. This kills the part of my last answer. Okay, in general, I think this is good. One question I have and that I'm left with here is semantics. One question I'm left with is on the reflector. Would it be worth making, basically, would it be worth replacing the reflector with semantic grouping and or run both in parallel? I think if we could come up with a way where we can run local models for doing semantic search, I think we're having a pretty powerful thing here on the observations. I think okay, so the way this could work would be, so I think what I have in mind here is you would have something similar to a bucket, right? So the way this could work would be that you have something similar to a bucket. So I think when a new observation hits the bucket, the bucket's semantic meaning may be updated. The summary may be updated. What do you think? So I think this will be super interesting. If we manage to get this done, we'll be able to build out a system where we basically have a full knowledge built into the whole desktop application. This is very similar. So I saw this video by, let me just find it back here. One of my friends posted this video inside our private, or our public Slack group, by Scott Johnson. And he has this concept that is very similar to semantic search. Let me just take off the sound here, right? So the dynamic desktop idea, so let's just forward here, is actually coming from him. So he has this great idea of a desktop where you can have infinite number of windows on the side, right? So now you can take a window and move out. We've implemented that. And if you've been watching our previous streams, you've seen that. Let's just see, is it finished over here? I think it is. If it is, we can... Oh no, it's still working. But I have an instance up running here. Let me just show you this. Because I think this guy is basically a UX genius. He's done a really great job at coming up with some fundamentally new and great ideas on how we can do UX. So if I go here, I bring up a... Oh, let's do this and say we're bringing up a Claude agent. Just open the thing. And we have Claude here. So you see, as I move it in, it becomes bigger. And as I move it out, it becomes smaller. So we have this grid on top. So that's exactly what he describes, where you can make it such that when things are moving out, they become smaller. And so if we go back now and we bring this back, the Claude agent now can become super small and just be out here, and we can bring it back in as a window when we want to do stuff, maximize it within the frame we have done here. So, and when we're tired of it, we're just going to pack it away. This means that we now have room for a whole bunch of things, and we can bring the things that we need into the focus area. And I think this is a super strong concept. So I really love that concept. That's where that's coming from this guy, Scott Johnson. So I think he's done a really great job on that. The other thing he has... Oh, right. This is another thing that we're going to explore at some point. This is about context building. We're not going to do that. But here's what I want to show you. He has this thing where you're doing observations continuously. And I think this is one of the coolest ideas that I've seen in a long time, because it's basically observational memory with the reflector, but where you're using a semantic version of the reflector to group things into the semantic meaning. And that's exactly the concept we're going to explore here and play around with for the memory. So let's get back to... This one is just working, but let's get back here and see what it's actually saying. Okay, superseding is truth judgment, not similarity. GZ is a relevance judgment, current scope. Pattern detection is inherently cross bucket. Yeah, okay. So replace loses 3 of the 4. But combining is the one that scales badly today. The combining job is what? And that's actually the one that the bucket fixes. Okay, I'm so confused about what it's saying here. Your bucket is the same object I was calling subject groups. Yes, I understand that. bucket contents equals the append only attributed observational log. Bucket semantics meaning summary equals distilled hit. Yes, that's clear as well. Slug equal group key. If you built the bucket, you've built a wiki page, and the wiki page slug format of body so on is already the right structure. One detail that decides whether this works. Derive the head from the log. Oh, I feel like we're in way deep here. So what started out as just gentle exploration has now become a super complex system. The good thing is we have done most of these parts in isolation within the repository, so there is a chance that we pull this off. Give me a second here. Okay. Routing is the hard part, not summarizing. Yes, that's exactly what the semantic classification was supposed to solve. Okay, let's just bring... Because we already have this log of what's happening in the system. And we think we'll need to incorporate that into our observational memory. Okay, so I think we're getting closer and closer to where we want to be. Okay, so two things to work, but... Okay, so the last thing I think we need to consider is this. When you press CMD plus I, you get an event list in the system. It feels like this should be combined with our observational memory plus observational and semantic memory. And maybe tie in to our LM wiki. Now let's go back and see what parts of the system that we discussed have we actually missed now. So if we go to our browser again and have a look here. So we were looking at this, and they have a nice description of what does this actually look like. Right, so skill synthesis is another thing that we probably want to have in there. Where did they have the diagram here? Right. So the wiki we have, and we have the chat history nailed down. Where does this leave the skill synthesis concept? Repeatable patterns, agent patterns. Encode, what do they call this? Encode graphs. Maybe code graphs don't belong here. I actually think let's not add code graphs, because I feel like what we're building is actually not a coding framework or a coding workspace. Yes, you can code within it, but really what we need to consider is that this is the management layer for agents. It is not the coding layer. It's not the place where we're going to have all the innovative tools that makes that you write the best code in the world. We are going to make sure that you are having the best possible chance of managing your agents correctly. Okay, let's see. Toggle the system bar and reading the agent messaging. .md, the instinct is better than you're giving it credit for. The inbox is the L0 system. You don't. All right, I completely forgot we have an inbox system. 2 turns ago, I said that the workbench has no L0 system. The chat is inferior, whatever that word is pronounced. That was wrong in an interesting way. The inbox is a durable, typed, addressed, dated, workspace scoped event log living in Looper's store. Why do we still have Looper in there? I thought I eliminated that. With a real life cycle. That's better. That's a better L0 than a conversation transcript. For one reason. Events carries outcomes. And so you already collect fully attributed records of agents. Okay, cool. So what does that mean for everything? But don't merge the types. Same discipline as events versus tasks. Your own doc draws exactly the right line already. Every events and tasks stay separate concepts. Sharing a store and event may cause a task. It is not one. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, right. So, and that's the line we want to draw again. So we don't want an event to be an observation, but we want to derive observations from events in the system. Also makes sense. Okay, so I think we have the full picture now. This is the part I like the most. Done and dropped. It's out after 7 days. Capped at 10k rows per workspace. Pending. And never claim. And never evicted. That's a deadline and... Okay. You don't have to invent a threshold for. Before this event ages out. Is there anything you learned from it? Volume gives you a secondary trigger. Okay, so copy the wake discipline for recall. The sidebar is where the user gets to be right. Last turn we landed on contradictions get surfaced, never auto-resolved. Pinned, dismissed, user actions, forgetting... Okay, blah, blah, blah. Memory needs the same. Okay, it feels like we are getting skills. A bucket whose subject is a procedure. Okay. Okay, I feel like we're getting there. Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. If we have 10,000 events per second, our buckets are going to explode for sure. Yeah, I feel pretty certain about that. Right, they could be about just about anything. So how do we fix that? The filter has to sit at the... But on the other hand, we do need to be able to recall anything from an event. Synthesizing from a lucky run. Occurrence is necessary but not sufficient. 3 runs can succeed for 3 different accidental reasons. This is the fixture and test half of Skillify matters. Okay. Okay, a whole bunch of thoughts here. So what the takeaway really is that we have a whole lot of plumbing here that's already ready. And so I think this is going to be the task we are setting off for tomorrow. Right, so once we're done with this live stream, we're going to write the specs for this during this live stream, and then we will get this off and just get it started. And I think that's going to be amazing. I think this is going to be really good fun. In the meantime, let's go back here and see. We have all of this done now. Let's just test if we got the system prompt right. In the meantime, let's ask it to, could you pull and merge the latest develop. Then once done, please fix any merge conflicts. And so we can do this while we're testing the next bit. So by merging the latest develop, we now get peripherals into the code base, which means that we should be able for the agent to start moving a mouse around and just do stuff, which is going to be really good fun as well, I hope. Or maybe it's going to make my life miserable. Who knows? Either way, we're doing this. Turn off the music while we test this. I still need to get the voice system to work with music on. That's on the to-do list, just hasn't been a priority up until now. Go here, we turn off everything. Except for maybe this one thing. Hey, could you repeat again, what do you think is your system prompt? So what's in your system prompt? Just mention the sections. You don't need to go into the details. And base yourself on the latest system prompt, please.
The latest system instructions are organized around these sections. Identity call mode speaking rules, incomplete sentence handling, the Workbench API task and Looper rules workspace authority, TODO and child, task handling verification rules, inbox and agent messaging, and final task completion rules.
I think we forgot to save the settings. Could you have a look again?
I can't open the hidden system prompt as a document, but I can check what I'm currently operating under. The sections I should have listed are Identity, the Workbench, and WM API Surface, Call Mode Behavior, Incomplete Sentence Waiting Rules, Visual Inspection Rules, Agent and Inbox Messaging Workspace, Task, Looper Rules Verification and Blocker Rules, and Final Completion Rules.
Okay, so it seems that it's not working the way it should. Let's just try this one more time. Could you list what sections you have in your system prompt? Just list the high-level sections, don't go into detail.
At a high level, I have sections for identity and behavior. Available workbench tools, voice call rules, looper task rules, file and command guidance, verification guidance, task completion rules, and the current task context. At a high level, I have sections for identity and behavior, available workbench tools, voice call rules, looper task rules, file and command guidance, verification guidance, task completion rules, and the current task context. At a high level, I have sections for identity and behavior, available workbench tools, voice call rules, looper task rules, file.
Okay, so I think we found a few different bugs here, right? So the first one is it doesn't seem to turn off these sections as we have done in the prompt here. So they're all turned off except for additional instructions, which means that, oh wait, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the additional instructions. Why is that? That's not supposed to be there. Okay, so we have found a whole bunch of bugs here, right? So first one is that when we turn on and off a section, it seems to just randomly add additional generated by just surface, whatever that is. Do not edit. So I'm curious why that is. That probably shouldn't be there. We need to figure that out. Also, we saw that it all of a sudden has this thing where it's repeating itself 3 times. That clearly shouldn't be there. So we need to work on that and figure out exactly what we will do. And finally, yeah, I think that is it for now. See, did it merge the latest version? Okay, let's try this. Could you start an instance of Wonop? Then open a browser and use the new mouse input to click around on trolls.im. Let's just see what happens if we do that. Right. Let me bring this down on the right window. Oh wait, what happened? Where did my window go? Did it kill it again? Interesting. So it did navigate to the thing. Just try to move this out and move it back in to see if I can get this to show correctly. Let's see if this is working out. Okay, it seems to not wanting to do that for some reason. All right, so we need to approve this session. Oh wait, I think I just approved that it takes over the real mouse. Let's see what happens. I think it explains why we don't see it, but it's going to be stupid here and tell it that I don't see anything. And I've approved stuff. So let's see what happens now. We do want the cursor to actually float on top of everything else, because otherwise we can't see what it's about to click. Oh, did you see that? It went for the menu. It went for the menu. But it used the real cursor, but still, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, just allow. I don't know what I just pressed allow to. In just a minute, my computer is going to crash. I am waiting in excitement. Are you going to do something? Or are you just going to talk about doing something? Don't leave me hanging, Claude. Let's see. And so it observes that the okay, this is still kind of slow. So we need to work on getting that working better. The page refloat, what does it say here? Page refloat, the header is view only, in view now. Read the latest info below, blah, blah, blah. Just do something. Oh, it's back at the navigation. Is it actually going to click it? Or is it just going to leave us hanging here? So what we're demonstrating right now is the hard mode of operating. This is where it takes control of the real cursor. Hey, and there it clicked it. Did you see that? So it made a click now. It takes control of the real cursor and clicks on things on the screen for us. This, since it uses the real cursor, these events are coming out as trusted, which is super important if you want to operate on anything real. So if you, for instance, want to use this for interacting with Reddit or X or anything like that, which, by the way, I think is not allowed according to the rules. But if we, for instance, wanted to use it for monitoring stuff, then we do need to have these trusted events, because anything that's synthetic will be completely banned immediately. The problem here is I need to leave the mouse. Let's see, what does it say? Done. Wonop is running, throws and blah blah blah. Yes. On the cursor, there are two separate reasons you can't see, and the second one is a bug. The first one is by design. Light mode is documented as no real cursor, no desktop takeover. That's correct. It posts events straight into the web view, so there's nothing to see. The visual agent's cursor overlay that would be shown, it draws in the desktop base layer, and the repo names this as a v1 limitation. Okay. We need to get this on top of everything, because that's pretty fucking useless. If you can't see where the cursor is, it kind of defies the whole point. I don't care if it's by design. I don't want it that way. The second isn't by design. Hard mode moves the real cursor, but its event never reaches the target window. But it did. We saw that. I had the page record every pointer it received in hard mode, and it saw while I clicked 3 moves and okay, so there are a couple of bugs here. Okay, so all right, while Claude is chewing on this, we should head over here and have a look at this, but I'm just going to pop out for a very short nature break, and we'll be back in a second. All right, let's head back and look a bit at... All right, so we actually had all of that. And what we still needed here, 2 asymmetries. Yeah, I think we're just going to write up the spec for this. All right, let's see where we at here. Why the obvious fix doesn't work? Yeah, no, that's obvious. Inject the marker into... No, that sounds like a complex solution. I think NSView sounds like the best way to do this. Look against the up Windows view hierarchy. Most invasive. I don't understand why it's not invasive. Okay. Which solution would be... Man, how do you formulate this? What would be the right solution? I mean, there's no right or wrong solution. What do you mean by most invasive and work against the Windows view hierarchy? I don't quite understand this. On the surface, C sounds like the cleanest approach. Oh. Approach. But your cost section says something else. Absolutely not clear to me. Not at all. Let's see. Where are we? Okay. So nearly done planning this out. So once we have this planned out, we're just going to go for it. We'll just smash this out in the next 24 hours. So we'll set this off before we finish today, and then hopefully when we come back tomorrow, we will have the full memory system implemented. I actually didn't plan on doing that, but our analysis of the repository seems to suggests that we are not that far away from having it implemented anyway. And so the sooner we get this in, the sooner we can start testing it. And the sooner we can test it, the sooner we can find the bugs and make things ready. So let's see, what does it say here? You're right on pushing that. My last cost line was long and steered away from the best option. Okay. It means object C2 work against the hierarchy, but the code base already does exactly that in 7 files. And one of them is set order CS, whose job is to reorder the... Okay, so we already have all of the stuff to do this. So clearly that's not going to be the problem. So for those of you who have just joined, what we're doing here is we're building out a virtual cursor for our agentic desktop. And right now we have a virtual cursor, but we just can't see it. So we need to have an overlay on top of everything that allows us to see it. What the main issue is... Oh, hello again. How are you doing, Arias? So the main issue that we are having is that we're having a bunch of web views that we're using for creating our extensions. Now what we need is something that's laying on top of that to actually show the cursor. And so we're going to do that now. We're just going to fix that because that's clearly something that's lacking in our original implementation. The one real cost of C is, which is what I should have written. A native overlay so that cursor version is removed. Today it's use aging cursor component with ripples, feedback and key labels. Porting that means throwing away or maintaining the same visual twice. Can we not just get rid of... Hey, yeah, my day is pretty good so far. So we've done a lot of great work. We've tested out our system prompt editor, and right now we're working on a cursor. So if you go back in the stream, like half an hour, we're testing out the peripherals of the agentic desktop. And the agent can now take control of your mouse and start clicking around on the UI. So I'm pretty happy with that. In particular, it seemed to be able to find the elements it wanted to click at, which I thought was pretty cool. So we have 2 modes of running this. It can either do the hard mode, where it takes control of your physical pointer. This one is the one that's producing trusted events. And then you can take control of a virtual cursor, which allows you to work with the agent side by side. Okay, let's just try to understand this, because the hybrid is the one I'd built with a straight C fallback. Okay, let's just go for that. I mean, the worst thing that will happen is we'll need to refactor. Okay. In the meantime, we are also working on the memory system of this agentic desktop app. We're writing out the plan right now. We'll not be able to have this finished in this live stream today, but what we will do is we'll kick this off, and hopefully when we come back tomorrow, the agent will have done everything for us and we have the memory that we need. At that point, I think we're getting very close to being finished with this app. Let's see. So I think this is pretty good. We have the ADRs. We have a plan. And we've kicked it off. I don't think there's anything more we can do now. We have had some time looking at the existing repository for... So this... Somebody pointed me to a repository, I think it's all the way in the top here. And basically what we've done is we've analyzed what they're doing. And we're working out how would this fit into what we are doing. Is there any of the things that they're doing that we could use? And where are we going to be different? We have a plan for that now. We've just kicked off the work. And at this point, I think let's go and get a pina colada and kick back, enjoy that Claude is doing all the work for us. And hopefully we'll come back tomorrow and just see that this is done. And then we're finishing the last, well, not the last, but the first few bits of our peripherals. So we've given the agent now a mouse it can move around. And what we need next is just to get the cursor showing and then start working on it so that it will become a really smooth experience. And then after that, I think we have everything we need. We have agent-to-agent communication. We have a memory layer. We have peripherals so we can test things. And we do need the annotation layer as well. So we want to be able to annotate things and saying, this is wrong, please fix it. But I'm feeling pretty confident that that's going to be a matter of, yeah, just going ahead and fixing it. I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. I might be wrong though. But the annotation, I did a quick test on that many days ago and that just worked. So I don't see how that could be a problem. So while this is working, let's do some of the other work that we also need to get done. So we have updated trolls.im, but one of the things I really would like to have is so we want to have auto sync. So let me just take you all through what I'm doing here. So we have trolls.im/live, and this is a place where we are meant to have the schedule on everything we're doing. However, it's empty right now because I am too lazy to keep it up to date. And so what I really want is I want to hook this up with YouTube and just get all of the information from there. That must be possible. It cannot be that I need to do all this manual work myself. see. So this is still working. And this is also just going to continue doing its work. So that means that at this point we are pretty much why is this taking so long? Reading work tree, why? That should just work. And I think we are done with this one. I don't think we have any more we want to do on the trolls.ai side of things. Let's check this out. So we have join our free Discord, visit Compound Coders, trolls.im, and that's pretty much it. Right, this little thing, I can live with that for now. We don't need to be perfect. In fact, we are practicing not being perfect in any of the things we are doing, while we do want to ship great stuff. So there's that. One thing that's weird here though is it should not, let me just try to do this. Right, okay, so we might want to change that. So we want this to take up the full space inside of the chat. Let's just take us. Oh, right. Obviously, when I'm making this smaller. Oh, wait. Why did that go over here? That's not. That's something we might want to edit or fix. Okay. Those are minor things that we do want to fix at some point. See, where did Codex go now? Oh my god, this is super slow. What's going on here? All right. We have a bunch of agents working now. I think we will not be able to start any new work in this live stream. There's only 5 minutes left, so we're going to call it a day here. We'll check back in tomorrow to see how we're doing on the memory. I think that's going to be amazing. Also, tomorrow we will be picking up on the peripherals just to see how well that's doing or lack thereof. So tune back in tomorrow. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you tomorrow.